The Kent School District Board meetings are held in public on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month at 7 p.m. at the Administration Center in accordance to the Washington State Open Public Meetings Act. Regular meetings include presentations and reports dealing with district operations, as well as time set aside for public comment. Now, here are your Kent School District Board of Directors. Welcome to tonight's board meeting.
Gee, I don't even get to use my gavel. Everybody got quiet. I'd like to call our meeting to order. I've asked Brian Gable to lead us in the flag salute, so would you please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, welcome to our meeting. Glad to see all of you here. This is a meeting of the board, which is held in public to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. We allow opportunity for public comments later in the agenda. If you would like to address the board, fill out a blue card. It's a white card with a blue border back on the table back there. Fill out a blue card and bring it up to the dais at any point in time. Just bring it to either end and they'll pass it down. If you wish to speak to an agenda item, please indicate on the card and your name will be called at that portion of the agenda. You will have 3 minutes. Dr. Watts, are there any changes in the agenda?
President Brewer, members of the board, a separate supplemental personnel report was added to the consent agenda, and a printed copy is before you on the dais.
Thank you. So we need a motion to add the supplemental personnel report to the consent agenda.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor of adding the supplemental personnel report to the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? We are moving on to our recognition portion. Our first proclamation is for National School Nurse Day, and our resident board nurse will read the proclamation.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to read this. Nursing is a great career. I've enjoyed all 28 years that I've been a nurse. Whereas all students have a right to have their health needs safely met while in the school setting, and whereas children today face more complex and life-threatening health problems requiring care in school, and whereas school nurses are professional nurses that advance the well-being, academic success, and lifelong achievements of all students by providing a critical safety net for our nation's most fragile children, and whereas school nurses act as a liaison to the school community, parents, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health, and whereas school nurses support the health and educational success of children and youth by developing and providing programs and leadership, and whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a positive position to make a positive difference for children every day. Now, therefore, it be resolved, the Kent School District Board of Directors hereby proclaim May 10th, 2017 National School Nurses Day in the Kent School District and urges all citizens to join in this observance.
Do we have some nurses with us? If you would stand, please. Yay. Whoa, look at them already. Mary, do you want to come up to the, bring your crew if you want? Some of them may want to say something. This is so nice to have so many of you here. That's great. Glad to see you. There you are, down the door. We have somebody who wants to speak.
Arlene. Oh, I don't know about speak. Hi.
We live in the health room.
Maybe we could just have you go down the row and say where you work. Let me get out of the way here and maybe pass this on the way down.
Okay, I'm Stacy Morris. I'm at Kent Ridge.
Do you want to sound them?
Yeah, just
Step up. Big voice.
I'm Jeannie Thompson, and I'm at Carriage Crest and Fairwood. And my name just changed, that's why I'm flustered here. Just got married a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Arlene McKee, school nurse, Lake Youngs and Glenridge.
I'm Christy Welsh. I'm the school nurse for Springbrook Elementary and Panther Lake Elementary.
I'm Angie Ingstrom. I'm the school nurse at Park Orchard Elementary and Meeker Middle School.
Lisa Richards, and I'm at Jenkins Creek, Covington Elementary, and Meridian Elementary.
I'm Yukiko Miller. I'm working at Jenkins Creek and Neely O'Brien Elementary School.
I'm Maria Armatas, and I'm at, Scenic Hill and Matson Middle School.
Andrea Scott. I'm at Kent Valley Early Learning Center and at Cedar Valley Elementary.
I'm Deanne, and I'm the injured nurse, but I'm at Covington and Park Orchard.
And I'm Mary Newell. I fill in everywhere. Mary, do you want to say anything more? Or?
I have to say that it's been great working with this district. I'm very proud of all of these KSD hired nurses, so it's been wonderful. We had a great day. We celebrated this morning, and thank you for all that you do for us.
Thank you.
We have one more proclamation to read, and then we'll do photos. So if you want to go ahead and have a seat, and then we'll come back up for our photos. Oh, Russ, I wish I'd remembered what words you just said, because I'm going to read the Teacher Appreciation Week. And I feel very honored because I am a teacher. Whereas the role of the classroom teacher cannot be overemphasized, for they are the single most influential factor in a child's educational experience. And whereas our teachers are at their best when they hold students to high expectations, challenge them to think critically, push them to excel in the face of any obstacle, and guide their development to contributing citizens. And whereas under the expert direction of our teachers, classrooms throughout Kent School District are places where I would say children, it says kids. Children have the opportunity to display creativity and imagination and develop a passion for learning that will last a lifetime. And whereas excellent teaching is a labor of love, and our dedicated professionals often use their own resources and work long hours to enhance and enrich the daily learning experiences of their students with innovative and individualized lessons. And whereas educators shape the future of our community and nation as they work each day to prepare our students to compete globally. And whereas the value of our talented, committed, tireless, and inspirational teachers is without measure. Now therefore be it resolved, the Kent School District Board of Directors hereby proclaims May 8th through the 12th, 2017, Teachers Appreciation Week in the Kent School District, and urges all citizens to pay tribute to our public school teachers. So I know we have a few teachers here. You want to stand up and come on over here? I had the pleasure of sitting in at Kent Meridian last week for their studio workshop, and then yesterday I was at Kent Ridge all day long for their studio, and it was so wonderful just to be with the teachers and to see them working hard and really, really wanting to do what's best for the kids and just improve their craft. Right. So well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christy. Do you want to say anything?
Just on behalf of the teachers, we really appreciate your support and willingness to listen, and feel lucky to be part of the Kent School District, so thank you.
All right.
My name's Eileen, and Mrs. Etheridge. I'm over at Lake Young's. I'm very happy to be part of that community, and I appreciate the fact that we are committed to all kids in our classroom, and I think that that's one of the reasons we have the greatest job in the world, because we really get, every year we have a new mix, and they're amazing kids to get to know, and each year we get to be somebody new and get to see the futures that they're going to create for themselves. So, all right.
So are we doing photos? We're doing cultural ambassadors first? Okay. All right, so Dr. Thomas, I know you're here, and Faith Sisley need to come introduce our members of the cultural ambassadors.
And we told our cultural ambassadors if you would come around and line up over here. We'd love to have them go with us.
Okay. Or it's on the desktop, I believe. Oh, you're doing it. Okay, perfect.
Good evening, President Brewer, board members, and Dr. Watts and Ms. Everett. I asked the board earlier, in the earlier session, this question, but I'm going to ask it again. So what does 50, 14, and 12, and how do they relate, or how do those three numbers relate? And they know the answer. So the answer is those numbers help describe our cultural ambassadors team. And there's over 50 members that have attended meetings, provided input, taken surveys, provided research, and really informed our work that we're doing. And they represent over 14 different cultures and speak over a dozen languages. So with that, I'll turn over to Daksha.
Thank you, Faith. And we did a presentation earlier, so we don't want to go over all those pieces, but Faith reminded me to tell you all that our next Cultural Ambassadors meeting is on May 25th, so you're all invited. Some of the work and the need for the Cultural Ambassadors work has been to really authentically engage our families and our communities, especially our communities of color and our families of color, and an authentic process where we build trust with them, where we listen and really try to increase equity through listening, providing, getting feedback, and then being responsive with that feedback. Another goal is to foster a welcoming, equitable, and culturally responsive environment by developing resources to build capacity for family engagement and community engagement in the Kent School District through a systemic approach. Those were a lot of words, but to simplify that, one of our board goals being that two-way communication and creating the equitable, excellent environment for our students, staff, families. We really needed to reach out to our communities of color and our families of color to inform a lot of the work that we are doing so that we can be culturally responsive. In that work, there's some of the work listed up here with the Cultural Connections Network, where we have a network with a lot of our mandirs, our Islamic centers, community-based organizations listed up there. That could be used as a resource for our school staff and leaders, our district leaders, as a communication forum and as a way to communicate and involve more people in the process. The other piece that we really are excited about is our newly created culturally responsive handbook, which we also have a staff link site as well for our staff members in the Kent School District. So the culturally responsive handbook, and I want to show you a copy of it, but I wanted to speak a little bit about it. The Culturally Responsive Handbook, as Faith talked about, represents 14 of our cultures in the Kent School District and growing. 5 of the top religions in our district as well, and the voices of these people, as well as in creating this, over 50 people helped with emails, surveys, feedback, coming to meetings, and to really create this over a whole year-long process. And although nothing is ever perfect, this is a fluid document. It's a living document that we will continue to revise and update as we get more feedback. So any of you out there that speak to people from these different cultures or cultural groups, if they would like to provide us feedback, we will be continuing to keep an online version that will be updated more frequently. And yearly, we will update this hard copy that we hope to give to our school staff. These copies say preview copy, not for distribution, because we still need to do a little more vetting within our system of the booklet. But with that in mind, we know that our city, our police department, even regional family and community engagement leaders are very anxious to be able to use this work in the work that they do. And we want to really tonight thank and honor our cultural ambassadors without them, we would not be able to do this work, and without their voice, we wouldn't be able to do it as well. And so we want to honor them. Am I forgetting anything else, Faith? No. Okay, perfect. We'd like to introduce all our cultural ambassadors. If you could come up here, say your name and either an organization or a cultural group that you are associated with or represent. If you'd come on up.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Lockram, Gagan Uxi, and I represent the Native American program, but also all the Native American community within the Kent School District and surrounding area. Thank you.
I'm Amrinder Bains. I represent the Sikh Punjabi community in the Kent city of Kent, and started Indian Club at Kent Meridian and at Horizon now in Junior Edition, so I represent the Punjabi community here.
Good evening. I'm Marby Valencia. I'm a para for the Kent School District and also a state certified interpreter for our Kent School District community. Thank you.
Also, TASA parent.
Hi, my name is Nadia Dawood. I work as a paraeducator in Kent Elementary, and I work as an Arabic interpreter, and I represent the Iraqi community.
Good evening, Barbara Phillips. I'm with Community Network Council, representing African Americans in the community. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Reisha Sapano. I'm from Sudan and the Executive Director of Mother Africa. I represent the Sudanese. Thank you, Millicent. She's our board member, so we're proud of her. I represent the Sudanese community, the Arabic-speaking community, and the Muslim community as well.
Hi, my name is Susana Manriquez. I work in Central Rendus and Vincent de Paul. I am Administrative Coordinator of Education.
Hi, my name is Adriana Lopez, and I'm a Spanish GED teacher assistant, and I was a facilitator as well. Thank you.
I'm Dee Miller. I have a grandchild daughter in Glenridge Elementary, and I'm in the process of still trying to get our baby boomers out to start a grandparents organization to aid the Kent School District.
All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daria Faravar. While I did not personally contribute to this, unfortunately, I so wish I had. I'm here to represent Open Doors for Multicultural Families who has.
Hi, my name is Sadia Hamid. I'm originally from Eritrea, and I represent the Eritrean, Ethiopian, Oromo, and Somali cultures. I work with all of them.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joyce Yi, and first of all, I represent the Chinese American community, although for some of you in the audience who know, I would not claim to represent all Chinese Americans in the greater Seattle-King County area, because that's kind of audacious. Yeah. And second of all, I happen to be with the League of Education Voters.
And we have two of our cultural ambassadors who are going to say a few words. And so I'd like to introduce Mona Han.
Hello, my name is, excuse me, my name is Mona Han, and I'm with the Coalition for Refugees from Burma. I'm originally from Burma, but I've been serving students who in Kent School District for the last 7 years, and currently we serve from 9 countries and 16 language groups. We do after-school academic programming at Kent Meridian High School and Park Orchard Elementary. I wanted to share the experience we had going through this process of coming up with the handbook. I told Daksha, in my words, it's very painless because all of us executive directors are extremely busy, and she and Faith made it very efficient for us to come in, just answer some questions, share some perspectives. And when I saw the handbook, I couldn't believe it. We thought that little contribution that we made was so impactful. And just a few of my words that I think the handbook is planting a seed, in my opinion. I think it's going to open up many doors to have more welcoming, smiling faces to our families and students that we are really lucky to serve. So I really appreciate this initiative that Kent School District is doing to provide a welcoming environment for all our refugee and immigrant students. Thank you.
And then Norma is going to say a few words. Coming up, Norma.
Good evening. My name is Norma Maldonado. I am one of the leaders for the Hispanic community. As an immigrant parent of 2 kids who studied in Kent from Kent to 12, I noticed a cultural gap between students and their teachers, and a lack of communication with the parents and diverse communities, and a lack of knowledge to understand the other cultures. Accepting and respecting different cultural backgrounds and customs, different ways of communicating, different traditions and values, I believe the school could work better and equal for all students. The cultural gap between students and their teachers can be a factor in student academic performance among different students groups. An important piece of the quality conversation is working with the parents and communities. When culture is ignored, students are at a risk of not getting the support that they need. For example, not completing the high school. Our effort and dedication to improve our kids' lives is create a good relationship with the school and our kids. We have the same goal for students to have a good environment in the school and complete their high school successfully. I would like to say thanks to Dasha and Faith for inviting us each month for the Cultural Ambassadors meetings and to be part of this new project. After several meetings, we created a new cultural responsive handbook. It will be very useful for the staff to understand other cultures, to respect beliefs, languages, values, history, manners of interacting, roles, relationships. Teachers with a great knowledge of culture competence will fully teach students who come from cultures other than their own. The knowledge and appreciation of diverse culture is a core value built on the ideals of freedom in America: justice, equality, equity, and human dignity. Thank you.
And we want to thank those cultural ambassadors that weren't able to be here, but who've given a lot of feedback and been a part of this process. So thank you for this time to the board.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Should we go backwards? Should we do the cultural ambassadors first since they're all standing? So We always have our photo opportunities over here.
Board members, if you'll take your usual position.
Really need to tape it.
Where's does it work? Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know. All right. Okay. Only nurses will get it.
Where am I? Here.
Good. Gang sign.
The what?
I did a gang sign. It didn't, I just made it up. I think it'll.
All right, we're moving on to 3.0, our presentations. Good, that wasn't Carmen talking. You were quiet this time. 3.01, the Alternative Learning Experience Annual Report. So we have Dr. Mac Mitchell and Brad Brown. Are you up to present
Yes, we
information?
are. Thank you. President DeBruler, members of the board, Superintendent Watts, and Ms. Everett. We have 4 amazing alternative experience programs in the district that I know you are probably more familiar with than I am. But in my first year, I have been incredibly impressed with their ability to do individualized programs, strong socio-emotional support, and a variety of choices for kids and outreach to the community that is pretty exceptional. So it's my pleasure to turn this over to Brad Brad Brown, SIO officer, who will introduce you. We have 3 of the 4 leaders of those programs with us tonight also. Brad.
Right. I'll put it back down for you. Good evening, Dr. Watts, President DeBuehler, members of the board, Ms. Everett. It is a proud pleasure to share with you tonight not just a program, but a program for students. And tonight you're going to get some clear technical pieces and also some adaptive pieces and the results of that. So what and why and what does that look like when it works? And I have some members joining me who I will get to. I'm just going to start first with giving you an overview of the what and why we're here tonight. And let me see, I'll be the controller of it. So tonight we're here because OSPI requires us to. Right? Good, bad, and different. And so we have to present that. And so that is part of the requirement of having an ALE program. And Kent School District believes in providing educational programs for all students. And you will see the variety and the depth in which we offer these different programs. And the purpose, again, is to better address all of the student needs. And we have our traditional schools, and then we have some of our academies, not alternative schools. And within that, there are still programs within our academies that make us very, very unique. And process. Teachers for each ALE program prepare individual student learning plans, and we'll have some examples tonight and go through those and tell you why they're there and how they're implemented, and some of our principals will share that with you. And we have a member that is not here tonight, and it's her husband's birthday, and that is Gwen, exerciser Jadowski. There it is. I've been working on that all day. But she is amazing. She is the queen of numbers, and she's provided us with a great base, and again, has been here for a number of years. And we have our teachers and our program folks submit those numbers to her, and she submit those to OSPI. So that's kind of how the process. We're going to keep rolling here. So now, as we look at program and program locations, we have Kent Phoenix Academy. And before we even do that, I want to give you kind of the what and why. Again, out of our 4 traditional schools, they don't work for all, and they're large. And with that, what are the options for those students? And so for those students, we have Kent Phoenix Academy and Principal Mary Lee Lau. Right. And then we have Kent Mountain View Academy, Principal Stephanie Nip, and Regional Justice Center, and that is Judy Roberts, who's not here with us tonight, and she has been with us for over 30 years, working with students that most folks don't feel like we should. But one of the things we do know is our students there have good attendance, and she is there for them. And we always look to push the needle in terms of they're here, and the reality is they're not going to stay here. So we have students that are jailed, and they're there for 2 to 3 years. But the reality is some of the things, I'm going to speak for her really quickly because she's not here, is she and I have worked to do things that have never been done in that place before. Those students, as of this year, now have access to computers. They've never had that before, and that's her work. Those students have never been able to display student work, ever. They have done that this year. So those things sound small, but when you're dealing with this delicate of a population, those things make a difference. And we're also looking to push that needle even further and look and see how we can provide some GED programs. So we're not giving up on not one child. And then we have career and technical, and we all know Miss Lori Paxson and Megan Morgan will be joining her tonight. So without further ado, I will call up Miss Mary Lee Lau, principal of Phoenix Academy, and get us going. All right.
I can't see when you put me that far away from things. Here we go. Good evening. This is not an opportunity to go through program by program what we do, but it is an opportunity to give you a view at a little bit larger picture of Kent Phoenix Academy and its annual enrollment and the who we serve, the numbers we serve, and how I think those numbers affect our district. So we've collected trend data, and starting in 2014, we went beyond the P223 counts and started looking at how many students we enroll in the school as an annual average. We have all this data by month for the last 4 years. And we noticed that we have a significant number of students that are in our school that never get accounted for. But what I want to say about that is that you guys remember them. And you have provided a place for them to come, even though we don't get money for them, because when we claim our FTE from the virtual program, they're split between the two schools. But you've said this is a place where kids can come and get what they need so they can graduate and be productive and have a hope-filled life. So this year, our annual average to date is 316. We have not put in the June count yet, but we predict that we'll be right back where we were on 2016. At 331, we've averaged about close to 25 to 30 more students annually than what is ever accounted for in the counts that you often see. So I think that was an important piece to bring forward to you today. What's important in here also is that the virtual program in April had 133 students in it, and that this month they have 139. We tend to see our numbers go up in the academy and in the virtual program after first semester and significantly at the beginning of fourth. And a lot of those are students who need a class or 2 or 4 that they're trying to get done. And we've seen this year a number of them that have come from Running Start that failed some classes, still want to graduate, they have the capability, and they're working to get into this program. I don't know, click is this one? All right, thank you. So this is the allocation that is received for each student in the virtual high school, and you'll see that the annual average, this is in slide 15, you'll see some of these numbers later in the presentation, but the annual average last year for the virtual high school was 75 students, and the actual annual number of students served was 101. So there were 26 more students on average each month than what we were actually reporting to the state and collecting money for. The state has recognized that this has been an issue and so has recently changed, and you'll see again in slide 15 where our number will be 125 students, but our FTE will be 98.4. So the difference then are the kids that we have that are enrolled and we're working with, but that we're not claiming FTE for in our building. They are being claimed a full FTE, and that's being done in the large high schools, and we take the smaller amount of the FTE because we're a place that you've put in place in the district for our kids that need that help, much like we do offer free summer school. I have to check my notes. All right. One of the things that we're going to have to figure out how we do is we do have an additional 8 students that are in our enrollment but are not being claimed at all. But we have them, and they're being claimed at a full FTE at the boundary schools, and then we're taking in an additional 8 to try and get them graduated. So appreciate the support to do that. The next slide, this is an important statistic. We often talk about graduation rates and on-time versus 5-year, and the state is looking at going to 5-year for priority schools, focused schools, and emerging. And so when we look at the difference between 4-year and 5-year graduation rates, and this is just Kent Phoenix Academy, 4-year graduation rate in 2013 was 33.3. And then the 5-year graduation rate increased to 54%. So we increased that by 21%. And you can see those percentages. We're projecting a 60% for this 2015 stats, which will come out in the fall. And if that happens, we would come out of priority status as a school and have a 60% and better graduation rate at the academy. So I took a look at our numbers from iGrad and from Stephanie, and we're running 11 to 26%, 28% increase in the 5th year for students that stay with us and graduate from our district. Between the schools, that's a significant amount. And there's no way to say what that means to a community, what that means to a family, and what that means to that child. And so I want to say thank you very much for that support again. I have something? Gosh, I thought I had ended on a good note there. This is WSLP. We've been audited by the state in this district year after year after year, and we're in it again. And we have a really good track record and success rate. And our WSLPs, as well as the rest of them in the district, are right on target. We monitor everything. Everything is set up with a parent. The contracts match what the state's asking us to do. Signatures are there, and we are actually doing the work. It's one thing to have all your paperwork filled out. Another thing is to see the success of students in the program. We are looking at a possibility of 75% on-time graduation rate in the virtual program this year. And this is how it's done. It's done by meeting with kids, laying out the plan, communicating with the parent and the student. And when they come in and we get audited, they're amazed at what we do in our district. So, okay.
President DeBruler, Dr. Watts, members of the board, Ms. Everett. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you about the ALE program and the transition program at Kent Mountain View Academy. Our transition program is facilitated through online learning, and it serves about 70 of our KSD high school students who are credit deficient. Admission is ongoing, and students who are accepted into the program transfer from one of our 4 comprehensive high schools to Kent Mountain View. They attend 2.5 hours on campus, and then they complete 2.5 hours of work off campus every day. They have the choice of 2 sessions, an AM session or a PM session. An individualized student learning plan, as you can see here, is built for each student to complete KSD requirements for graduation. And once students are in good standing, they can choose to transition back to their boundary school, hence our name, or they may access Running Start, or they can remain at Kent Mountain View and graduate with us. The program is highly relational. It's designed to meet the needs of the whole student. And few of our students come to us for academic reasons only. There's typically multiple factors impacting a student's credit deficiency, including substance abuse, family dysfunction, significant life trauma, physical abuse, mental illness, and poverty. Many students also have jobs to contribute to their family income, and others are caring for siblings or babies of their own. 100% of the KSD seniors who enroll at Kent Mountain View in our transition program are not on track to graduate in June. Our ALE program makes it possible for these seniors to earn credit that they need to graduate on time. And without the transition program, 54 KSD seniors would not graduate next month. Last year, our 4-year on-time graduation rate was 82%. That's comparable to our comprehensive counterparts. Blueprint Goal 1 and the metrics to measure on-time graduation is evident through the success of our students. Our senior class is comprised of historically underserved populations, including 76% students of color. Additionally, this year, 70% of our seniors have completed their FAFSA applications, indicating their commitment to post-high school education. You may recall Lamar Abawi. He was one of our transition program students and a 2016 graduate who is also a small business owner of a towing company. And you may have a handout there in front of you with his smiling face. He was featured in the student spotlight of KSD Connected. Lamar said he struggled at his previous school and he was not really connected with anyone. But a school counselor encouraged him to finish at KMVA. Today, he's pursuing his automotive certification in diesel and European models so that he can open his own mechanic shop. Another one of our students described his high school experience and what he learned through our transition program. He said, during high school, I couldn't hold myself up. I hit the pavement a lot. But I was okay with that because the next day, I would get back up and do it again, but try better than before. I learned that in life, it's not the genetically smart guy who wins or the guy with the most potential who wins, but it's the guy with the great perseverance who wins. ALE programs like the Transition Program create the opportunity for students to overcome, succeed, and persevere. Thank you so much.
Okay. President Brullier, members of the board, Dr. Watts, Ms. Everett. I have been nominated to quickly tell you what I learned today about the Regional Justice Center, because that is not my program, as you know, but it was interesting, so I'm going to share it with you, is that you'll see on one of the last slides that we do not currently have any reported students in this particular program because they're all juveniles right now, which means they're under 18. And while they have to abide by the ALE rules and guidelines that we've all been talking about here, they're claimed differently for more funding, actually. So that's a good thing. And so right now we do not have any of the over 18 who have in the past been in our program. And I believe they said they had 21. Is that right? 21 juveniles right now that you will not see on the report, but are in existence that we are claiming. Okay, so moving on to my program, the Career and Technical Education. Just as we've mentioned before, this is a sample of a student learning plan. It's very similar to the Phoenix Academy because we worked together and I utilized what they already had in place. And then here's the exciting stuff. This is the meat of our numbers here. And just to recap, our CTE ALE program is a 100% online program. It's a choice for students, and we have all different reasons why students take our classes. Anywhere from the lower classmen who want to get ahead, who want to add extra credits, to the senior second semester of their senior year who says, uh-oh, I need another credit. And we accommodate all different types of students for all different needs, along with enrichment, students who just can't fit in their regular schedule, a class that they're very interested in, students who'd like to increase their college applications by having some diversity, as well as all different types of scheduling issues. And amongst all those things I just mentioned, another really good factor of our classes is that it allows students the choice and the alternative learning to stay local here in Kent School District as opposed to going elsewhere, such as Running Start or other programs out of the district. So that's why we're really passionate about offering these opportunities for the students who seek them out. I wrote them down this year so I don't mess them up again. The online classes we are currently offering this year are Business English, Business Math, Career Choices, Computer Applications, Family Health, Financial Literacy, Life on Your Own, and Marketing. The chart behind me is the bottom line really is we're about the same as we have been for the past 2 years. We're not, as I've said before, we're not interested in growing. We don't want every student in the Kent School District to be one of our online students. We want it to be a choice that fits them for their circumstances. So we have, you can see at the bottom, 280 as of April students, the head count of students. In our CTE online program, traditionally students only take one class at a time. So as opposed to Phoenix Academy, where they're taking potentially a full course load, they have less bodies but more FTE, and we have more bodies and less FTE because they're only taking one class, sometimes two, but mostly only one per time. So then this really small print slide just shows the overall district. So we're kind of back to the overall and showing that this is the head count. So we have in the district 351 students that are taking ALE for all of our programs that you just heard about. And then this is the FTE slide. So those 351 students equal 154 FTE for the month of April. And then this is just another alternate way to look at the summary. This is the head count and the FTE broken out by each program area. And as I referenced before, you can see the regional justice is the 0, and then the rest reflect grade level going across and program going vertically to what we offer here. And I think that moves to questions.
Questions?
Questions?
I have one for CTE. Is it possible, do they have to take it during the school year? Is it possible for Kent School District, say 8th graders, to take a class before their freshman year to maybe lighten their course load?
I love that question and I love that idea. And the easy answer is to say no, because we can't claim CTE funding in the summer. However, we have had lots of conversations about creative ways in which we could do that. So right now, no, because we haven't quite figured out a way to do that. But I think definitely in the future, I see that happening.
Well, can't we use levy funding any way we see fit instead of state dollars?
Well, I use CTE funding, which is not levy. I don't use any levy dollars. So I think that's probably a question for somebody here in the front row.
I mean, I'm mostly thinking about like financial literacy. Maybe between the 11th and 12th grade year for whatever reason, or even 8th grade, depending on the rigor of the course and what. Is there certain courses that are designated more appropriately for different grade levels? Or are they all fairly freshman, sophomore classes?
No, yes and no. I think all of our courses could be appropriate for any 9th through 12th grade, but I think definitely some are probably more appropriate for, like you said, 9 and 10, and and others are more appropriate for 11 and 12.
Okay.
So first of all, thank you all for being here. I enjoy always hearing about this part. I do have one question on the CTE, and you may have answered this last year, and I apologize if I don't remember why, but KM is quite a bit higher in the number of students participating. I'm just wondering why KM compared to other schools.
Well, thank you for asking that, because you've opened my opportunity to introduce our KM online teacher. So I'm going to bring her up here, and she'll tell you why. So I'm happy to introduce Megan Morgan, who is our Kent Meridian online learning teacher.
Well, so the reason would be that I'm a full-time online learning teacher, and I'm the only one, thank you, I'm the only one in the district who is staffed full-time. It is my 14th year at Kent Meridian. I love it. I've been there forever. However, I do have students at Kentwood and at Kent Lake, and I will take a moment to give a nod and say thank you to the Kent School District for opening up this opportunity and empowering CTE. They are truly visionary in this opportunity. We are the only ones doing this. This is my 5th year doing this online program. I know I've had Jack Hanscom for a couple years, and Jack's been, there you go. And everywhere I go, I'm actually Lori's CTE intern this year, and so I've been in the OSPI Central program, and every time I tell anybody across the state what I do, they drool and they try to pilfer me for their district. So it is a very impressive program. It's very future forward. Online learning is not going away, and we have now refined it. So you really do possess in your CTE department and under Lori's leadership a very refined and impressive program. And Wade Behringer saw that, and with our partnership, as Wade and I have worked together for 13 years. We developed that with CTE together, Joe Potts at Kent Lake, and now Kentwood has come under the wing as well. And we have just started our first 2 students at Kent Ridge this year. So we are now approaching that where everyone understands that this is where it's going, and it has incredible power for credit recovery as well as credit acceleration. And so that's why Kent Meridian, and that's where I'm home based, and that's where the vision started. And when you have those relationships, doors open. But we would love to have more, but I can only teach, a few hundred students at once. No, just, HR tells me I'm only allowed to teach my load, so that's why.
Thank you. Magda, no questions?
Yes, I just wanted to thank you also as well for being here and going over all of our programs. I'm always impressed by all that you do, especially when I visited your schools to see that in our students. I wanted to ask about, and I think I asked this last year, I'm not sure, but has there been discussions amongst all of the programs, ALE programs, on where you intersect and where you can really leverage each other's capability? Because in my head, I have such a hard time understanding why someone would select KPA over KMBA versus iGrad.
We have talked about that at high school levels meeting and put some.
You're being recorded.
Oh, I see. Sorry. We've discussed this in the high school levels meeting a couple times because it has been difficult for our families to navigate all the different schools. And we're pretty well defined on what we can do and who we serve. And I think it would be great to get something published, knowing that it's not discrete, that it certainly is flexible. And sometimes it's student choice based on reputation. And we all have a bit of a different reputation of the kinds of things that we do. So to answer your question, we're pretty clear on the differences in our school, and we certainly could put something in publication at some point.
Helpful. Okay, thank you.
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for having the ALEs that you do. It's saved a lot of kids. So thank you.
Well done.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Our next presentation is our Early Learning Annual Report. We've got Dr. Mac Mitchell, Paige Meyer, and Alice Humphreys to present information and answer questions.
Great. So President DeBruler, members of the board, Superintendent Watts, and Ms. Everett. The early learning program is emerging into, it's building a support system that's really remarkable. It's a network, not an individual program anymore. It started as a program. I would describe it as a network. And the network includes community providers that we have expanded our relationships with, all of the mothers and fathers and kids who attend the program, and just a real focus on learning that we have brought to it, have attracted foundations and other community partners who are interested in our work. So it's a really profound pleasure to introduce to you the leaders of those programs. Before I do, I just want to make one other comment, and that is that it's very hard to get good data about little ones. And we have struggled and worked on this. And tonight we have some emerging data that is very positive. And I want to thank Jewel Harmon and her team for helping us make sense of this, interpret it, and present it to you. So thank you. I'd like to have Paige Meyer take the lead, and Alice will follow.
Good evening, President DeBruler, members of the board, Dr. Watts, and Ms. Everett. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here tonight to make our annual report on early learning. I'd like to warn you right now that I have a cold, and I will try very hard not to cough into the microphone. So with me is, I'm the early learning director, and with me is Ms. Alice Humphreys. She's our early learning coordinator. So, and to tie on to what Dr. Mitchell said, in this field of early learning, Alice and I find that we are always working at the edge of our knowledge, and that things are very innovative and new research is constantly coming out. And it's very, very exciting, but we're always kind of teetering on that edge of do we know what we're doing? So it's exciting.
So, will you flip this for me? Thank you. Okay, so for the past 3 years, we have been working across sectors to build a pre-K through third grade system in Kent. And we have reported to the board along the way. Much has been accomplished over the past 3 years with this two-person team here, but there is still so much more to do. We began our work under the Race to the Top grant, and there was a very specific scope of work that we were hired to accomplish, and we did that. Since that grant concluded last summer, we have analyzed, researched, networked, and tailored the scope of our work to focus on the most effective programs that are in our department and also to align with the Kent School District blueprint. Additionally, we have really prioritized making strategic and responsible decisions to maximize both financial and human resources. So along the way, we've created a culture amongst our teachers, our administrators, our parents, and our students around early learning. People are starting to develop a common language around this emerging, very important field. So today, our goal is to achieve the most powerful return on our investment for our youngest and most vulnerable learners in this school district. Today, we're going to be reporting on preschool, specifically alignment and expansion, early learning provider outreach, development of early learning leadership, the Ready for Kindergarten program, and universal kindergarten registration. We just want to make sure that you know that we align all of our work with the blueprint, and we find that our work aligns very well with goals 1 and 2. Investing in early learning has a deep financial return, and it also plays a critical role in equity in terms of closing the opportunity and achievement gaps. Two thought leaders and researchers that are particularly inspiring and compelling to us are James Heckman of the University of Chicago and Ruby Takanishi of New America. So James Heckman is an economist, so he has done some extensive research using data from a number of early learning studies, big scale studies, which is where you can really get the authentic data because you have enough data to actually draw conclusions. And his research has shown that investment in early learning provides a 13% return. So in Ruby Takanashi's book, First Things First, she makes a very compelling argument that public schools should be reimagined to start at the age of 3, that our model is antiquated, and that we are not, although talent is universally distributed, it is not universally developed, and that many kids, because of their socioeconomic situations, do not have access to early learning, and therefore they start in our system behind, and they don't catch up. And we need to turn that around so that and address those inequalities to give them an opportunity to succeed in public education. So, we all know that children's academic abilities and kindergarten entry are a strong predictor of their success throughout their career, but not all children begin formal schooling at the same level. The playing field is not level. We know that. And this slide shows some data from a 2016 research study conducted by some researchers and sponsored by the National Institute for Early Education Research. And we found it particularly compelling. It shows just how significant the gap can be for African American, Hispanic, and low-income students, and really confirms why preschool is a critical intervention. So figure 1 shows, well, you can read that behind me, it shows that African American children are on average about 9 months behind their white peers in math when they enter kindergarten, and almost 7 months behind in reading. This is shocking, and this is something that drives us in our work. Hispanic children are on average 11 months behind their white peers in math and 11.5 months behind in reading. Low-income children are on average 11 months behind their higher-income peers and 13 months behind in reading. Imagine a student who is low-income and a student of color or in one of these populations. So you can see that the programs and policies that we are implementing, such as ECAP,
Ready for Kindergarten, and other formats of pre-K in our district are really important for ensuring that students of color and children from low-income households begin kindergarten on par with their white and higher income peers. This intervention can really drastically improve their academic trajectories and their overall well-being.
So you might be asking why KSD should be in the preschool business. And here are some bullet points, but I want to talk with you to let you know that the data on the previous slide really showed the achievement gaps begin before kindergarten. Research shows that these gaps persist and are rarely closed. This is awkward, I'm sorry. Let's decide which side. They result in lower high school graduation, decreased college attendance, and lower working wages as adults. High-quality pre-K could narrow the achievement gap at kindergarten entry and then continue to turn these trends around for our students. Offering preschool within KSD and partnering with Kent Youth and Family Services, we have Teresa Larond here, but partnering with Kent Youth and Family Services to offer more on our campuses, more opportunities, and throughout Kent, is us, KSD, doing our part to ensure that all children enter kindergarten with the academic and social emotional skills that they need for success. Research also shows us that preschool has a positive effect on social, emotional, and cognitive growth. And some very well-known studies, such as the Chicago Parent Children's Centers study and the Perry High Scope study, back up some of those claims with research. You might be asking, high-quality preschool, what is high quality? What does that mean? It's evidence-based curricula that includes student-driven learning, opportunities for open-ended play, physical activity, personal connections with teachers, ongoing professional development and coaching for teachers. And without those attributes, the positive effects of preschool seem to fade into the later school years.
So, I'm back with my crackly voice here. What preschool is offered in the Kent School District? We have in the Kent School District, as is the case nationwide, a mixed delivery system. Many different funding streams, many different formats of preschool. So we have the ECAP preschool at Kent Valley Early Learning Center, which we launched 2.5 years ago, and I serve as the center director for that. We have 20 children in that classroom. We have 2 Title I funded preschools at preschool classrooms at Meridian and Park Orchard. We have preschool in the CTE department under Miss Lori Paxton. So there's a preschool and a child care at 2 of our high schools. We have developmental preschool in the inclusive education department with a peer model program. And we partner very closely with Kent Youth and Family Services to offer preschool on our campuses. They manage the program. We offer the facilities and other in-kind services to support their ability to offer that program. Those programs are located on Sunrise and Jenkins Creek campuses. Additionally, and there's Head Start on those campuses as well. And there are 4 other Kent Youth and Family Services centers throughout Kent School District. Miss Teresa Larond, who is the Early Learning Director for Kent Youth and Family Services, is here tonight. I'd like to recognize her. Please raise your hand. We work really closely. We talk almost every single day, or text, or talk and text, because we increasingly are finding more and more things that we can do together. And that's how those partnerships just bloom and grow. I'm very excited to let you know that she is working on making one of her Valley ECAP and Head Start sites down in the Kent Valley into a dual language preschool program, so it can feed into the Kent Valley Early Learning Center, which is very exciting. So currently, what we're working on together is preschool expansion. The governor's new budget includes over 1,000 new slots statewide for ECAP, and we want to grab some of that money and some of those slots for Kent. And so we have collaborated and identified a location and are actively pursuing that contract. PSCSD is the contractor, and we are the subcontractors. So we will be partnering to hopefully grab those expansion slots. What I want you to know is that currently in Kent, there's a total of 842 preschool slots that are free or reduced. And that is between the two systems, okay? So we're working cross-sector. We have KYFS offering 409 free slots between Head Start and ECAP, and KSD offers 433 free and reduced between all those different types of formats of preschool that I explained on the previous slide. I would like to say that ECAP stands for the Early Childhood Educational Assistance Program. So now we're on to a data slide. And before I go into this data slide, I just want to say the caveat that this is our first attempt at trying to pull some data. It is far from perfect, but it is thought-provoking, and it lays a foundation for us to continue to improve and get better. And I am also thankful to Jewel Harmon and Jewel, excuse me, and Brian, and mostly Brian Gable, who worked diligently with us. He's right back there. Please wave your hand. Worked with us to put this data together and to understand how to try to explain it to you. So here is an example of Paige working at the edge of her knowledge. So one thing you need to know about this data as well is that because we have a mixed delivery system, it is very difficult to pull data because kids are coming from different settings with teachers that have different preparation, with different curriculum and different assessment. So you're going to see a very small sample here because we wanted to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges. And I'm going to tell you that even the most sophisticated researchers at the most advanced universities have an extremely difficult time getting early learning data, as Dr. Mitchell said previously. So we're not alone. We might have to start our doctorates very soon. So this chart tells us who we are serving. And when you look, I want you to look at the labels underneath the bars. And it's important for you to understand that on this chart, ECAP is just the two ECAPs on our Sunrise and Jenkins Creek campuses. And that is because those children are in our Skyward system. We can pull data on them very easily. KSD Preschool is the ECAP that I am the center director of at the Kent Valley Early Learning Center, and the Meridian and Park Orchard. We wanted to focus on those because we wanted you to see we wanted you to see the results and outcomes of students that are attending preschool under our umbrella, if you will, or under our very close influence, and see how much of a difference it actually makes. No preschool and no data would be what parents are writing on kindergarten registration when they register their children. They are either not giving us any information, or they're specifically saying my child has had no preschool or no early learning anything. And other means all the other preschools in the Kent area in any format: friends, family, neighbor, private pay, parochial, non-parochial. So this chart shows us who we're serving in terms of free and reduced lunch and non-free and reduced lunch. And you can see that on the no preschool and no data, we have a lot of students that we still need to reach. So a lot of opportunity for growth. But we are serving our free and reduced students in our very small sampling of ECAP and KSD preschool. So I know this probably raises lots of questions. And that's exactly what data is meant to do. So what else can I tell you about this? What is not in here are the CTE preschools and not the other four KYFSs and the other ECSCs because they don't use the same assessments or curriculum. Okay, on the next page. This is another way to look at who we're serving. It's white versus non-white students. Our goal is to serve our students of color and low income, and you can see from this chart that we are doing this for the most part. So the next thing we thought about was how do these students compare in performance to kids who have, how do our students in our preschools compare to students who have no preschool, no data, or other preschool experiences? So we're going to follow them into preschool now and see how they did on the WaKids TS Gold assessment, which is our kindergarten assessment. So here we have a slide that shows all kindergarten students. The yellow is the district average. And then what you have is other, which is all those other preschools and no data and no preschool. And then ECAP as defined previously and KSD as defined previously. What I'd like you to notice on this slide first is that KSD pre-K is outperforming all subgroups and the district average. Second, and it's a little bit surprising, but it appears like ECAP is the lowest performing group. Why might this be? So is it a quality issue? But let's remember that ECAP serves 85% of the kids that are in ECAP are the most vulnerable and the most at risk. They actively recruit with a family support specialist, homeless foster, social service referral children, students with disabilities, second language learners, low income, students that are below the poverty level, and they also have a high mobility and transition rate. So there's some explanations there. Third, but not surprising, all of the others match the district. So now let's just look at the free and reduced students. And we'll keep the district averages the same. So when you look at the free and reduced students, what you see is, again, KSD preschool is exceeding or doing better than the district average, and ECAP is not far behind. And what this says to us is that we're doing something right. We are making strides towards closing the achievement gap. If we define the achievement gap as the difference between the district average and the performance of free and reduced students, then this data suggests that the gaps are being closed or near closed. So for example, if you look at literacy, I know it's a lot to take in. So imagine, if you look at the other bar, imagine if those students, they're not far behind the other bar, but imagine if those students imagine if our ECAP students and our KSD preschool students had no preschool at all. These are our most impacted students. So imagine if they had no access to preschool. By providing preschool to them, we are removing an obstacle. So, moving on.
I have the privilege of sharing some information about the why in terms of provider outreach. If the data isn't compelling enough as a reason why we should be outreaching to providers in our community, we also have a mandate here. The RCW, under the state-funded full-day kindergarten, requires us to reach out to our early learning providers and create relationships that help to develop readiness activities and strengthen transition for our incoming kindergarten students. Under the WA Kids umbrella, there's really three components to that. There's the WA Kids developmental assessment, which is the whole child assessment that at the beginning of the school year, teachers collect observational data. There is the Parent Connections meetings, which we have the opportunity and the gift of spending the first 3 days of school for kindergartners and their families coming to school, meeting the teachers, getting to know about their children, and learning about their lives so that when they start school, we have a little foundation of a relationship. That's a really important component. And the final piece is this provider outreach. And this is an area where Paige and I have really worked to develop opportunities over the last 3 years. And we're thrilled to be able to share a little information about what we've done with this. Yeah, go ahead. Over the last 3 years, this really began as, well, we had ideas around this. But when we were in the P3 Executive Leadership Program, this ended up being our action research project, the idea that was developed by our team while we were there. I'll get to that in just a moment. I want to talk a little bit more about the goals of this piece, which is around the relationships that we can build and the improved transitions. And I got ahead of myself, so I already talked a little bit about that. But I want you to just imagine for a moment, if this is the perfect world and the work that we're doing, imagine a future where there is a district-wide transition document that providers complete on their students and share with the kindergarten teacher as the child is arriving here in Kent School District. Imagine a future where our elementary schools actively reach out and share with the providers about the date, time, purpose of kindergarten orientation. Imagine a future where providers are invited to share in professional development and roundtable discussions with kindergarten teachers at their schools that their children feed into. And lastly, imagine a future where kindergarten teachers and pre-K teachers look at data together, whether it's TS Gold data, our WA Kids entering kindergarten readiness data, or other data that will help to align curriculum as well as transition processes. So the exciting part of this is that in January 2015, Paige and I took our team's idea and implemented our first early learning outreach event. And so you can see here the events that we've offered over the last 2 years and the total number of participants that we had. Our first year, we were able to offer 3 classes and had a total of 126 providers join us. This past year, we just wrapped up on April 27th with a full gym at Kent Valley Early Learning Center. That's kind of been the place and the home where we've had enough room now to house all of our guests. And that is 130 participants that we've had join us this year for these participation and outreach events. You can see a number of the topics that we have there. These topics have come to us based on feedback from our providers. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself again. I'm just excited to talk. Yeah, so we have plans to move forward as we move into next year. And these topics really were feedback provided to us from providers. So as you can see, one of the big topics this year was around behavior. And we had the opportunity to provide school-wide expectation information to our providers, and then we took it to the next level of those most challenging kiddos, to Tier 2 and Tier 3 kiddos that in their programs they may not have the resources necessarily to manage, but we were able to provide some information around that. We're getting smarter and smarter with each session for sure. Here's a list of some of our participants, and what I most want to highlight for you on here, that Paige and I are really pleased to share, is that the providers in the blue are actually small in-home providers. These are people we've been able to outreach to and build relationships with. And those are really, when we look at that kind of rough data that I've shared with you before around where kids are coming from, when we look at that, these are some of our providers. And we see that students are coming to us from those small places overwhelmingly, if they have a preschool experience in our district, more than they are in some of the others. Oh, I'm again ahead of myself. No. This is just a snapshot of our last event. So we had Carly Wyatt from our math department sharing some math strategies around mathematizing, counting collections. She had everybody up, moving, counting, talking about math, and really feeling energized. We have this picture here that really highlights some of our participants, and we're very proud to say that we have a lot of our Somali providers within the Kent School District now who are joining us and attending and providing some feedback and learning with us.
Okay, I'm going to talk briefly about building early learning leadership. Thanks to a very generous Gates grant, we have been able to send 3 cohort teams to the University of Washington Pre-K through 3rd Grade Executive Leadership Institute. We will be able to send 1 more team next year. And people that participate in this learn about cross-system leadership, instructional reform, high-quality continuum of learning in preschool, regardless of that race, class, culture, or zip code. They come out with a common language and a collaborative vision and shared goals, which is what is needed if you want to make systemic change. And we really value this opportunity to send these people to this learning experience, because what it does is it engages more voices in the conversation. It kind of duplicates or multiplies or compounds our impact in the community, because we're only 2. And so then we have more voices out there and more people with expertise to advocate for early learning and building our system across sectors within Kent. I would like to point out that the cohorts that we have sent are made up of district and building leadership, as well as CBOs and preschool and early learning center directors. So it's a cross-sector partnership.
Another one of our exciting topics, and you know we've spoken about this before, is Ready for Kindergarten, the program that supports families as the child's first and primary teacher. And so we get to share a little bit of the progress that we've done over the last couple of years in implementing this program across the district as well. As a reminder, it really is meant to be a program that helps families learn some tools, some tricks to be able to take home and work with their children in their homes around developing skills. It's fun, and it provides rich learning experiences by incorporating movement, play, exploration, and communication. It's a national model, really, for school readiness, and it allows parents and caregivers to be engaged in their child's learning at early ages from birth to 5. This is the past year and the past 3 years implementation, the schools that we've had Ready for K functioning, that's not the word I wanted, but implemented into. And so we have 8 sites, as you can see. We've served this year 135 families. We have a consistent facilitator base. So you'll see at the bottom of the slide that we have 13 trained facilitators, 4 of which are Spanish bilingual facilitators. And so they partner or actually teach alone in the Spanish only classrooms, because we do have a lot of Spanish speaking families that join us for these 3 workshop series. I have learned that we also have an opportunity. Ready for K provides a provider program, and we have an opportunity for that program to begin in partnership with Kent Youth and Family, beginning May 10th for our Somali providers. And so the program allows them to learn some tools that they can share with families that will support development, again, at home. Now, speaking of data, we have this data thing where it's a little hard to make direct correlations, but I wanted to share with you some qualitative, well, this is real data, but it aligns qualitatively to the program that we have. This is a student whose family was invited to attend Ready for K as he was an early kindergartner. He's a non-English speaking student. His parents attended the program, and they attended all 3 series of workshops for the 4-5 program. The student, obviously, this is ERLA data, which is our reading assessment in the school district, but this student had the opportunity then to make reading growth. Again, it's not a direct correlation. It's a tiny snapshot of a real student within our Kent School District that has benefited not only from the teaching that we have at school, but also his parents had the opportunity to attend this program. You might ask about that little dip right there, going from green to yellow. That's the infamous summer slide. So the student started first grade a little lower than he ended kindergarten, but he's risen back up, obviously, and doing very well. This is one more student, just to provide another snapshot. This student was a special education student who also was in kindergarten and whose family was invited to attend the program as a 4 and 5-year-old session. And so this student as well made some progress. Again, it's not necessarily a direct correlation, but these are real students whose families have participated within the program.
For the past 4 years, the Kent School District has participated with the other roadmap school districts to engage in a kindergarten registration campaign. So we promote and start kindergarten registration the day after Martin Luther King Day. And I know that you have heard about this and you have seen all of the evidence of it, and it is going strong and going very, very well. What we have on this slide are just a few of the advantages of enrolling early in terms of building relationships with the school, getting invited to kindergarten orientation, and teachers getting to know the children and being more prepared for them when they show up in the fall. So these are just a few of many possible benefits to early registration. So it's just a sampling. I think the thing that's really exciting is that alongside registration, as Alice mentioned, we now have the data processors gathering data on preschool or early learning experiences, which allows us to track where our kids are coming from and how many of them actually have kindergarten or preschool experience and how many do not. And I know you've heard us say before, about 50% of our students come in with preschool or early learning experience, and the other 50% do not. But what's more exciting is we're now figuring out where are they coming from, and it's mostly these small in-home providers. So that is our target when we are offering those provider collaboration classes, because those are the folks that want most to learn and to partner with us so that they can get the kids in their care ready for kindergarten. So finally, it's important to we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for their support. We are in the midst of a $62,500 grant, which allows us to pay for tuition for the University of Washington Pre-K through Third Grade Institute. As well, it allows us to give small mini grants to kindergarten teams and principals who want to get involved in doing outreach from their schools to preschool providers. So we can pay for extra time, materials, food for them, because they do work long days and come in afterwards after working with kids to partner with our teachers. And it also pays to send staff to the Starting Strong Conference, which is the state early learning conference. So we're very appreciative of that funding, particularly in this moment. And we do have some pending funding that is very exciting that will hopefully fund. Well, the plan is for it to fund the expansion of our math lab work, which has been very successful, to all of our KSD preschools, and to the ECAP and Head Start classrooms of our KIT Youth and Family Services partners. So we're trying to align, collaborate, and really increase that math readiness, because I know you've seen the WaKids data, and math is the area where students come into Kent and across the whole state least ready for school. So we're very excited about this, and we'll look forward to reporting back to you on it in a future board meeting. And now we would love to take your questions.
Who wants to start?
If you don't have any questions, that's okay.
I don't have any questions.
Sure.
Well, I'll wait. Someone else might ask it. Usually happens.
I'll ask one quickly. The state is expanding the slots for ECAP. You said we have a place, or could we get more than a place, or could we get more? How do we go? How do we go about getting more?
It's an excellent question. Preschool classrooms have certain requirements, so we have to be very diligent about the places that we select. And so they need to have two toilets, and they need to have a certain amount of space and whatnot. So we are working very carefully with our facilities department and with Inclusive Ed, because they also need space, to look at everything that is available and make very strategic decisions about what facilities would work. We also, another factor that you might not know about is we really have to think about the saturation study that was conducted by the Department of Early Learning, and we need to place those classrooms in areas where there is a need. And that makes, so we have space in classrooms maybe out in Covington, but that's not where the need is. Yeah. Everybody's vying for space right here. And so that's the challenge. I think we have some new buildings being built over the next few years. So of course I'm advocating for early learning space in those buildings. I'm knocking on everybody's door, exploring every avenue. So if anybody out there knows of any space that I should look at, I want to know. So great question.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We need to connect with the city of Kent, because there's a lot of empty storefronts and empty shops and strip malls. It's changing. I mean, Kent's starting to pick up like the rest of the nation, but I'll get you the guy that you need to talk to in the city of Kent that knows the vacant strip mall places.
Thank you. That's great. That would have been my question to you. Thank you.
I just have kind of one question. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing, and especially your forward-looking and how do we continue to grow this. So as I look at that and I know we have the current grant, and I look at how funding will be in the future and what types of steps are we thinking of taking or doing to be able to encourage to grow this program.
Success.
So I think you're asking about funding.
Yes.
So, as Dr. Mitchell mentioned, we have increasingly funders that are interested in us because they're hearing about our work. And we do have a good relationship with the Gates Foundation, and they are very interested in partnering with Kent. So we hope to continue to nurture that connection, as well as nurturing and pursuing other avenues for continuing the work. There is some funding within our school district for some things, such as the Ready K, which falls very nicely into our family engagement Title I budget. But it's an excellent question. I think we'll be learning a lot about grants and grant writing over the next year.
So my question is related. The governor, I forget, 1,200, 1,800 in his budget.
1,133, I think.
Do you know how much each student gets, like, per month? What's that number? Do you know?
So the district gets about just over $7,000 per student.
Wow.
So, for example, the classroom down at Kent Valley has 20 kids, so you multiply that by 7-ish. And that's
So for 180 days?
Yeah, or 1,000 hours of instruction, yes. Yes.
Just seeing if I need to open up a new business.
Well, I'll tell you that covers the personnel.
What's that?
That budget covers personnel.
Yeah.
Are you done, Russ? Or?
No, go ahead. I'm thinking.
You are done? Okay.
Yes. Well, for now.
Yeah, okay. I don't have any questions, just want to commend you two and how much you've accomplished and how you've been driven by the data and what the research says about outcomes for kids and looking at the data of where our kids are coming from and where's the greatest need and really looking at it with the equity lens. And just one example of the great work you've been doing. On Monday night, I was at our early childhood series of lectures at the UW, and I was talking to some other folks and asking them from other districts, how are you reaching out to the providers out in your community? And they weren't able to answer that question as well as what we're doing here in Kent. So you've done an amazing job of that outreach, and we're seeing the results of that, so thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to just say, I really appreciated the community outreach meeting that I was at, and I saw the providers wanting to really listen to the ideas you provided, and I could hear them, going and implementing it at their sites. And so it really, earlier today, we had that work session with the cultural ambassadors, and I was thinking, as you were presenting, what if question, what if the providers that you are working with and the ambassadors work together to sort of address the summer slide issue by maybe doing joint grants, because a lot of the cultural ambassadors are part of nonprofits that are working with our schools. And, it might be a great way, they talked about cross-divisional collaboration, and I just see that as a great avenue to get more funding. So just a thought.
Thank you. We work very closely with DOCSHA, so that's a conversation that we'll have.
Russ, did you have some more?
Yeah, so, sorry, I can't see you. Do you know how many kindergartners we have? Is it about 2,000?
Yes.
And so we're currently meeting the need of maybe roughly half of preschoolers, give or take. So I mean, I imagine that some parents just want to teach their kids at home, right? So in theory, although it would be nice to have the option for mom or dad to have a drop-off here and there. So theoretically, if everybody wanted to participate in the Kent School District, it would maybe be about 1,000-ish kids.
You mean if all families?
Wanted to partake, all 4-year-olds that are not currently in any preschool program that registered, no data, or no? Okay. All right, thanks. That's it.
Anybody else? All right. I am always so impressed with what you do and how hard you work, and I appreciate it, especially after going through the UW P3 program. I'm very appreciative that you are our leaders. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I can't help but make this one comment. So this is a model of charter schools, maybe, and Kent School District is killing it as far as outcome and improvement and data.
Like doing great.
Yes. Sorry, I have 3 teenage boys. So we're doing extraordinarily well with our outcomes relative to other providers.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
I think so. We don't have data on like all the other.
Right.
Hopefully, we're going to work on getting data for all the other 4 ECAP sites under Teresa's direction, because that will give us a larger sample and a better idea of outcomes.
Okay.
Data is better when you have a larger sample.
Sorry, last question.
Go ahead.
Is there room to expand at Kent Early Learning?
I wish there were. People drive by that building and they think there are a lot more rooms than there are in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's deceiving. I do have a vision for that building.
Okay.
That I'll share at an appropriate time.
Sooner is better than later.
Like an all preschool center at some point.
Okay.
I think that would be beautiful.
I know.
In partnership with KU the Family Services.
Renton has an early learning
For
center.
reminding me. Thank you.
They've just opened recently. I mean, it's new and shiny and sparkly, and they're very impressed, and they've got tons of children going there, so.
Where'd they get their money?
I'll have to ask. I don't know. I'm on the board with one of their board members.
Always learning, and we work really closely with all the other early learning folks in this region. We're always talking, always sharing ideas, because we're all, again, always working at the edge of our current knowledge. So thank you for the opportunity to answer those questions. So.
Go home and go to bed, Paige.
Yes.
All right, moving on. 4.0, Board of Directors discussion and approval. We have the 2017-18 paid meals prices. We need a motion to approve the proposed new prices for paid school meals for the 2017-18 school year.
So moved.
Do you have a second? Was that at the same time?
I'll second that.
Okay. We don't need a discussion, I guess, so it's called for motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Favor of approving the proposed new price. Sorry about that. All opposed? Okay. Resolution number 1516. We need a motion to approve Resolution 1516, constructability review for Covington Elementary Replacement Project.
I so move.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the motion to approve Resolution 1516, constructability review for Covington Elementary Replacement Project?
Karen, we should be having discussion on these.
It says, there's nothing in here that says discussion, and I'm thinking we should be having discussion, but do we have discussion?
It's not consent agenda, so call for it.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
So take it back. Do we have discussion or questions about the constructability review?
Hold on just a second. We're just accepting it, right? Accepting what the consultants wrote?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Russ, you're looking intent. I don't know whether to move on.
I
Okay.
was thinking, but
Okay.
I can ask it later.
All right.
But thank you for checking.
We had a motion and a second, and now a discussion and questions. All those in favor of the motion to approve resolution number 1516, the constructability review for Covington Elementary Replacement Project, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Resolution 1517, we need a motion to approve resolution 1517, intent to construct for Covington Elementary Replacement Project.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Do we have any discussion or questions?
Oh, exciting, though.
It is very
It was
exciting.
fun digging the dirt on Friday.
Okay. All right, so not hearing any. All those in favor of approving Resolution 1517, intent to construct for Covington Elementary Replacement Project, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? And then we have Resolution 1518. We need a motion to approve Resolution 1518 to accept bids for Covington Elementary Replacement and approval to award the contract to Neely Construction Company in the amount of $26,958,000 plus Washington State sales tax.
I so move.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I've got just a comment of concern, and we've already emailed me, and it was about the thing that has continually annoyed me since I've ever started paying attention to capital projects in government is change orders. The showware was like, I don't know, I think it was about $50 million worth of change orders. They didn't include a scoreboard for $5 million. Or a reader board on the sidewalk. It just was a continual add-on. So what kind of assurances or guarantees do we have that there won't be any?
So in the first resolution that you approved in 1516 is that constructability review.
Yeah, and that's what I was
so that was
thinking hard
83 pages worth of review of the project. And so all of those things have been addressed through the design back to the architects, which gives us a third party that looks at that besides Mr. Long and his team who do those reviews. So that's the first piece in that.
Right.
We've built this school one other time, and so the lessons learned from Panther Lake Elementary School allow us to incorporate those into the design that took place for the new Covington Elementary project. So those two factors help us mitigate a lot of the unforeseen conditions that often happen in a project. We will have some change orders. Okay, and change orders are a natural part of a large construction project. But in those will be more around unforeseen conditions that we have. And so one of those areas that you saw in the bid is around the cost of soil. And so we have preset the cost of what those things will be in regards to if we need to move additional dirt, put new fill in, put structural fill in. We have prices from the contractor on what those cubic yardage will be for each one of the different types of soils that we need to bring in or remove for the constructability of the building. So that really helps in the overall reducing of change orders. But in all the projects I've been associated with in the past, we budget those in accordance with knowing that there will be some change orders in that process, and that's part of our contingency. But we work really hard to be sure that they are at a very limited number, and they have to be something that is an owner-approved type of thing. There may be something that we come up that says, you know what, you're right, this might be a really good thing for us to do with that school. That's an owner-approved piece. We will have things that may come up from inspectors that say that we have to do things. So we've had fire inspector things in the past where the new code requires something because the codes change. We saw that happen this last summer with the fire alarm systems that we put in. Hopefully they're not changing those again, but we never know when those codes are moving forward. But our architects have done a marvelous job with the project, and Fred and his team are excited to get started with this, and Neely Construction is just as excited as we are to get this school going.
So, sorry, I meant to ask this earlier. Well, actually, no, I didn't. I didn't think about it till just now, so I apologize that. But do you know, or does Fred, can you recall the cost of Panther Lake? Because I'm really curious, and how many years have passed and what the inflation has been for this?
I think the overall cost for Panther Lake was $34 million, and that was in 2008.
You're confusing me.
The overall budget for Panther Lake was $34 million.
So we're
The
building-
actual cost of the building, I think, was 21 or 22.
Oh, okay. So 22, so.
Right.
Okay. That helps me know that we're getting a good deal.
Yes. And this, Covington has 4 more classrooms than Panther Lake had, too.
Yeah. Okay.
And another thing that affects the cost of the building is just the amount of site work that we have to do on site,
Yeah.
or street improvements that we have to do, or water, sewer and water improvements that are required to get the school
Great
serviced.
point. So did we address not just, because when we met with the city, there were significant concerns about drop-off and roads, so hopefully we're being more.
We've met with safety services and with the city, and we've increased the amount of drop-off space that the school has.
Okay. Yeah, because the problem was over at Panther Lake. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Just quickly, I may have missed this, but are we planning to, I know we have a site that says the bond at work or something at work, our finances at work. Are we planning to show the stages of where we are with the construction and the costs in a publicly open view?
So what we're working on, we have a website already set up that Community Connections has done with promises made, promises kept. And with that, we'll have actually 2 cameras that will be live, that will be able to see the construction taking place, and we'll be doing project updates throughout the project as it continues throughout this year into August of 2018, when we move into that new facility.
Great, all right, thank you.
Anything else? All right, we have all those in favor of approving resolution number 1518 to accept bids for Covington Elementary replacement and approval to award the contract to Neely Construction Company in the amount of $26,958,000 plus Washington State sales tax. Please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we have the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Well, I had a question related to all the resource adoptions, so I guess I should probably pull those.
5.03 to 5.07?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I saw that too. Anybody have anything else that they want to pull? All right, we need, let's see, a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 5.03 through 5.07.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of the consent agenda minus 5.03 through 5.07, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, Agda, do you want to start?
Yeah, so we're being asked to approve these resource adoptions, but I also know we have a spending freeze going on too. So I'm wondering how that would work in relation to this. I'm thinking that then people could purchase these resources later in the future.
Dr. Mitchell, if you don't mind joining the podium so we can all hear you. Thank you.
I keep thinking I'm louder than I am.
Camera can't hear you.
These are all purchased out of non-BEA funds, either CTE money or grants or other things. And these were, the committees who worked on this started, a year ago and did the studies, made the recommendations, and the board approved these courses. You approve them as courses first, then resources second. So this is the final step. But we won't incur expenses on these to the BEA budget.
Okay.
Anybody have any other? I had a couple. On the chemistry, that's what, 5.04, I think? Yeah. I know we only have one IB chemistry course, so, but you've got one person who's going through we have a one-person committee on that, and there was something in here, it's fair. It says the resource supports the Common Core literacy standards in grades 6 through 12 for history, social studies, science, and the technical subjects, and that's fair. And I was just wondering if, maybe you can't get everything in one book, but I don't know if there's anybody that can speak to that.
So, Ann Valenzuela?
I would refer that to Ann.
Thank you.
Guides the committee.
It's a science course, so it's not going to hit all of the ELA and math standards. It's hitting the science standards. And also, IB tells you what book you have to use, so there was no choice. This was it.
I see.
So, one-person committee was fine. And Lori Paxton also was involved. Not Lori, I'm sorry. Shannon Heckles-Miller did look it over. She wasn't on the committee, but she signed off on it that it's appropriate. But when it comes to the IB program, pretty much once you get the course, you get the book. So,
yeah. Okay, and then just. And I guess it doesn't matter because it's not coming out of the funding, our regular funding. So, but there's some of them it's to be determined how many, what the price on some of them is, and
well, in terms of how many, we don't know the she didn't really know the registration when she submitted. This wasn't just for you. This was for the Instructional Materials Committee, and so she wasn't sure of exactly how many students were going to take it. But she's covering they're covering the cost with CTE funds. So.
All right. Good. All right. I don't have any more questions. So we need a motion to approve the consent agenda items 5.03 through 5.07.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of approving consent agenda items 5.03 through 5.07, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we've got informational only. Yeah, I was going to say, the March 2017 financial statement. Are there any questions about that? And then the March 2017 General Fund Object of Expenditure Report. Any questions? Okay. We have no communication from the audience, so we will move forward with our superintendent's report. Dr. Watts.
Yes. President DeBruler, members of the board, Ms. Everett, and team, I'm going to take a step back to recognize all of those who were part of our groundbreaking ceremony on May 5th, to our school board members, to our community at Covington Elementary School, to our elected officials, and just as, if not more importantly, to the 67.24% of our voting public who approved of this bond measure. We've talked about the symbolic representation of breaking ground, which is really making a way for this to happen. And it's been a long time coming. Bless you. And we'll do this again very, very soon. But I was pleased with those who showed up, and the weather cooperated, and certainly to our communications, public affairs office, to all those who helped with the planning. We thank you. So we'll look forward to that camera speeding forward with the progress of building, knowing that there will be some adjustments, and in 2018, walking through those open doors. Thinking about the two employee groups that we recognize today, school nurses and teachers. Teacher Appreciation Week, we could celebrate that every day. And it's not lost on me that, as I've said before, there are two types of employees in Kent School District, those who teach and those who support those who teach. And we could not do this work without those who are in our classrooms on a daily basis, setting the conditions so our students and the adults who are serving them, those belief gaps can be closed, so those opportunity gaps are closed, and ultimately so our achievement gaps can be closed. And we still have work to do. We know that. The School Nurses Week. So again, it's not lost on me. While my mom's body is no longer with us, that was the first introduction to servant leadership. And I think about, there was an event last year. It was the first time I'd met someone who actually knew my mom. And so I've told this story to a few people, but I think about this long and short. It was the first time that someone actually came to me and said, is your mom, did she work as a, and she was a school nurse at Meany Middle School. And she was a student at that time. And she told me, with tears in her eyes, she came to me and said, I just want to let you know that your mom saved my life. And what she meant by that is every day she was, at the time, living in a homeless situation, and then she would, the only situation where she had some level of comfort and care, she had siblings, but they couldn't take care of her. And she remembered that one day where my mom went to that closet, that magical closet, where there was a coat. And on a rainy day, she gave her that coat and other items to take care of herself. And I think about all of the caring opportunities that our school nurses, our teachers, the adults who serve them do on a daily basis. And I cannot thank them enough. I know they're not here right now, but they can look back and hear my thanks. It goes a long way. That concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Somebody want to start?
Yeah, I'll go. I just have one announcement. It's caused interesting discussions in our house as my son Jack was elected ASB president for KM. And his brother said, good, because I want the school spirit to be better, so I don't have to go somewhere else, because he views Eller High Schools as having a little bit of a stronger school spirit, so the pressure's on his brother. And he said, well, good, you can help me. So I'm excited that my son Jack has been elected ASB president.
Well, congratulations to him.
That's it.
So I just have a couple things. So I had the opportunity to go to the Covington Multi-Care reception for the leaders in the area to find out a little bit more about what Multi-Care is doing. And there was, Jim Tenassi was there and took the opportunity at the end when they asked questions to promote our nursing and opportunities that we would like to partner up. So. And then I also afterwards spoke with Linda, I believe the last name was Chen, who's over pediatrics, about what are some opportunities that we might have as we look at early childhood education and ways to maybe partner with our doctors in the area about making sure we can help with literacy with our students. So I'll do some further follow-up after that. I also had the opportunity to go to the Covington groundbreaking, which was, I was very appreciative of the wooden planks across the mud. So thank you for all those who labored to put that in. And it was very exciting to see the community members and the students and the staff that were there and how excited they were about this new school. So it was a great event, so thank you. And then finally, I had the opportunity to go to the first half of the equity convening put on by PSED. And just, it was very enlightening, and I enjoyed being there and learning more about the work that we're doing as well as the work that others are doing and the opportunities that we have and the opportunity we have to further make sure that others are aware of what equity is and what we need to do. And it just helped me broaden my knowledge of there's still a lot of work out there that needs to be done, and excited and looking forward to doing that work. So that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. Agda?
Yeah, a couple things related to WASDA that I wanted to share and ask for your input on. So Debbie and I had the opportunity to go to our second round of the WASDA leadership, where we really learned a lot from state leaders at a number of different levels. And Debbie's got a great idea for her project that I think will help us as a board and superintendent governance team. But if the rest of you have an idea for a project I could undertake of something that would be helpful to us, please let me know your ideas. And then I wanted to point out that I noticed that the WASDA conference proposals are due at the end of the month. So if we're interested in getting in something to present there to share about the work we're doing. And then at our last meeting, I mentioned about the legislative proposals to WASDR being due in June 2nd. And so the cohort of districts where we've presented our submitted them together, there were 3 that we submitted last year, and WASDA's process is that if a particular legislative proposal gets approved 3 years in a row, the same proposal, then it becomes sort of part of the standing proposals and you don't kind of have to do anything anymore. So of those 3, one of them is now like at the standing level, so we don't have to do anything other than continue to advocate with the legislature for it. And that's the one that related to funding related to McKinney-Vento homeless students. And then the other 2, though, are ones that collectively we'll want to submit again. And so we're going to have those 2 on our agenda at our next meeting to approve those. So. Let's see. And then I wanted to mention that I very much enjoyed going to 2 of the musicals, Kent Lake Sister Act and The Wiz at Kent Ridge with Karen and a friend of mine. And those were just fabulous performances, as they usually are. And then lastly, I just wanted to share, I mentioned I had gone to some early childhood lectures at the University of Washington on Monday night, and then last night I actually went down to Tacoma, to UW Tacoma, and heard a great lecture there related to equity and work to bring about racial and economic equity with some interesting facts. But the one I wanted to share was one of the UW ones, and it was a researcher who's from Santa Cruz, and she was actually sharing her research about in the United States, families and children that are from indigenous heritages, whether it was from Central or South America or from the United States, had a way of the children early on learned by working with their families about doing tasks, and they really adopted this collaborative way of interacting, very much so than we do in middle class European American culture, where we tend to divide jobs up and we share, like, you have your turn and then I'll have my turn, versus we have our turns together and interact together. And it was just very enlightening, and the researcher presented it in such a lovely way that one way is not better than another, but in our institutions, like in our educational systems, we often do sort of the European American white way and in middle class way, and let's think about opportunities in our educational system to have those other ways of being, so that we can all experience them and all of our children can learn and feel more comfortable too. So I appreciated getting that message and wanted to share that with all of you. And that ends my report.
Okay. I want to thank a few folks first. I had a chance to go to the Kent Hope breakfast fundraiser and hear about what they're doing for our women and children in our area, and the support they're providing for our homeless families. Secondly, I wanted to thank our Rotary Club for all the scholarships that they provide for our students year after year, and how committed they are to continually providing beyond scholarships, doing so much more in services, providing services to our schools. Then I wanted to thank Dr. Decker and Mr. Brown for just a fantastic organization of our equity panel that was put together with Puget Sound ESD, where we got to take part in that. And I was so proud of our team, call us our team, and how well that was put together. Was really admirable and made us look really great in the amount of work that has gone historically. And we finally got to recognize Mr. Rayleigh, and that was just a wonderful event for us to be there. Also, several things going on with the dramas, and I also enjoyed Sister Act at Kent Lake. I'm going to the other 2 this week at Kent Meridian and Kent Ridge.
Also going to the 6th grade all elementary honor band and orchestra on Saturday. We're celebrating the Kent Schools Foundation contribution as well to the students. And then finally, I want to just mention that Theater Battery, which is in our backyard. We have our own theater. Nobody knows about Little Theater at Kent Station that's doing wonderful projects. They have an interest in finding students with interest in developing leadership, community engagement, customer service, artist crafting skills through their summer production this year. And they're looking at it more like a theatrical experience, and because they're going to be sharing the full practices of running a small nonprofit business with the social justice mission. And so it's so much aligned with our career connected pathways that we're not just looking for, they're not looking for just actors, but looking to provide some concrete opportunities. And thank you to Carol Cleveland for working with them to provide, not provide, but provide some opportunities for our students in that area.
Where's the contact info? Or can you send
I'll
it
get
to me?
it. Yeah. Theaterbattery.org, I think.
Okay, I attended the Kent Meridian Multicultural Assembly, and I think it's probably the best one I've seen. It went really long, and the kids just were so great. They sat and watched the whole thing, and they got the audience participating in some things in between the acts, and they bought into it. They had a great time. So I thought the kids, the ones who got up and danced, sang, whatever else it was, because it seemed like it was a wide variety of things, or wider variety than usual. I think they just did a great job. As Agda said, I went to Sister Act and The Wiz both, and it still just amazes me how the two directors there push and really tie in the importance of the message of their play. It's not just putting on music and acting, there's messages there too. I'm involved in doing the senior oral presentations at KPA. I did some again today, and I just love it. I love hearing their stories, and Phoenix is such a good name for that school because they truly are kids that have just risen from the ashes of ACEs and all kinds of trauma. You talked about the Spring Equity Convening. I was just very impressed with how well it was put together. So Luann and Brad, thank you so much for that, and all of the people who participated in it. I went to the Somali Youth and Family Club fundraiser last Saturday night, I guess it was, Friday night, one of the nights, and it was a huge deal. I thought it was going to be some little something somewhere. This was in a ballroom at the Marriott Hotel at SeaTac, and Adam Smith was there, the mayor of SeaTac was there, Bob Hasagawa was there, and there were all kinds of people there. And they talked about what all they do, and I am just so impressed with what they do. They have such wraparound services for their community, and they take care of each other. And I was honored to work in my University P3 group with Balan Aden, who is her mom, Mama Hamdi, is the founder of the Somali Youth and Family Club. And so that was a nice connection. Loved the groundbreaking. I don't want to say everything you guys did. The studio, I did studio at KM, and with the teachers, that's what's really neat about it, is the teachers get to choose what it is they want to focus on, and then they tailor the studio to that. So they were working on the ESPA test, how to present it as a genre, and it was really well done. And then yesterday I was at Kent Ridge, and they were doing ELA, and we were in the library, and it was really neat because a lot of times as a board member, people will just, they know you're there, but they don't talk to you or anything. Well, at one point in time, Glenn Dacus, one of the teachers there, just came over. He sat down next to me. He says, "Let me show you what we're doing." And he opened his envelope and he pulled out his reflections from the year. And it was just really, it was neat. And so then there were some of the other teachers. I sat in with their group, one of their groups, and talked with them and got to watch their their teaching. Actually went into one of their classes, and we had to observe and write down notes. And so I was doing that too, just like the other teachers were. So I thought that was neat. They really involved me in that. Saturday, I am going to the Cultural Responsiveness, I don't know if it's a workshop, but KEA is putting it on.
Oh,
Yeah, and the communities. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. It's from 9 to 3:30 in the East Wing of KM. And last but not least, Communities and Schools Breakfast is May 18th at KPA at 7 to 9. I just took some things down for raffle baskets today, so there's some good stuff there. And did I do that? Yep. Okay, that is it. Went kind of long tonight, but thank you for being here. We are adjourned.